Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will be showing you how to hide one div and all its content to show another div and a different content entirely with the click of a button on the HTML page. Okay, so for the purpose of this demonstration, I will be using the Visual Studio Code. Okay, so right now I'm in the Visual Studio Code. This is a new index.html file here. So the first thing to do is to quickly create the basic HTML tags. All right. And so we can create our divs. Okay. So the first div, let's call this div one. Okay. So we'll create an ID, say one. Pardon my typing. I'm still trying to get used to the keyboard. Okay. Okay, so this is for div one, and then we create the second div, create the ID, and call it div two. Okay, and so for div one, let's just add the content to it. Put a h1 tag. Say welcome to page one, or right, welcome to page one, and then say let's add one more thing, h4 or h3, and then click to see page two. Okay, so that's about the text. So we add the button right now, the button, and call it continue. Okay, so if we check this out on the browser, this is what it will look like. Okay, so you, so we add a little CSS to okay, so the body, you can always play around with different tags and different CSS stylings. Okay, let's see how this works. Perfect, perfect. All right, so here we have our h1 tag, h3 tag, and then the continue button for our movement to the new div. All right, so here let's add for our second div, let's add h1 tag also. Say welcome to page two. All right. Okay, so here's our first tag and here's our second div. So you can see, oh, let's add something to add h3 tag and just put whatever. Um, Works perfectly. So guys, note that you can you know use other kinds of tags, not necessarily the buttons. You can also use the href to migrate to a different page. This makes your work smarter and faster. So we have our first div and we have our second div. All right, so what's the first thing we do? The first div, we add the styling, style, and then we put the display on block. Okay, now this is to hide the second div and make the first div visible on the HTML page. Okay, so we add the style, pardon me, add the style, and then we set display to none here, right? On the second div. So if you go back to the browser, you see we have just one div showing here. So you can always use this for your startup page, welcome to say a game or whatever you choose to do on your HTML page. And then when you want to migrate to the next set of things to do on the HTML page, you no longer would necessarily have to create another .html file. You can just do all of that in one. It makes your work faster and smarter. All right, so let's make that work. Right now, we can see on the browser that we have just one div and the other div is hidden because the style, the display is set to none. Okay, so the next thing to do is to add to the button right now. We add on click, we say next, a function, say next. All right. So this will be the function that we will call. That's we'll call. Nope, everything is okay here. Okay. All right. So I like to put my most times I like to put my JavaScript below. Okay. I like to put my scripts. You could add it at the bottom of your HTML page. You could add it at the top of your HTML page, or you could create a different .js file for it. Okay. I'm going to be talking about a lot of other stuff that has to do with things like that. But right now, on the script, what we'll do is to call a function. So we say function for next, function next. This function is going to tell us what should happen, you know, by the time we click this button on our HTML page, right? So function next says function next says, first of all, we create a variable, say a is equal to, now the first div. A will be equal to the first div and the div ID here is 1. So a is equal to document. I have to pick from the selection a lot because of my document that gets element by ID, and then we do 1. All right, and then the colon there. Then the next variable say b. that will represent the second page. So we'll do the same thing, document dot get element by ID, right? And then the ID for div 2 is 2, so 2. Having done that, so we say if, we're calling the if statement right here. So if A, which represents the first ID, if A dot display dot style, I beg your pardon, if A dot display dot style, yeah, is equal to keyboard is really, it's really misbehaving right now. Okay, so if A dot display dot style is equal to block. Remember the div, the first div was set to block to display, and this was set to none. So we are saying here that you don't need to be a JavaScript expert to be able to come up with this construction. So we are saying here if A, because A represents this and B represents this. So if A, the styling on A is set to block, right? Which means if A is displaying, what should happen? So if A is displaying, we set A dot display dot style, A dot display dot style should be equal to none. A dot display dot style should be equal to none, right? And B dot display dot style should be equal to block. That's pretty much it. So what we just said here in summary is that the function for next, the button, should be our variable A here, which is representing the first div. If the display is set to block to show on the HTML page, then if this button is clicked, let it become none. So that's pretty much what's happening here. And then let B becomes what we see on the HTML page. Okay, I'm going to be breaking most of my lectures, down to this extent so that you can really understand what you're doing and not just copy and paste. All right, so that's pretty much it. So let's go through it again. Here's your div1 set to block. Here is this div2, and your function says this. Well, that's pretty much it. All right, that's pretty much what we have to do here. But the if statement would go perfectly with an else. So we just put else. A dot display dot style, A dot display dot style should remain block, right? All right, so that's pretty much the only, it's as simple as this. That's pretty much the only JavaScript codes you need to add to this to make this work. So right now, this is your div 1. So to make div 2 show, by clicking the button, something is missing. Oh, the problem here is we're mixing this up. A.style the display display A.style the display. So I'll just change all of that. If A.style the display, here we if A.style dot display, then we do B.style dot display. Okay, so let's change this one to style dot display. Okay, so the style dot display, that's pretty much it. Should work perfectly now. So let's try it out now. You see that? It moves to the next div and hiding the previous div. So you can go on and on, you know. So rather than creating an index.html file, a .html file over and over again, you can just simplify your work by putting all of this, into one single index.html file. All right, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Do well to subscribe, hit the like button and comment below. Stay blessed.